Men attack a woman without imagining that her dog is trained as a police officer, and what happened next surprised everyone. Mary, a 70-year-old woman, lived alone in a modest but welcoming house, whose organization reflected her calm and detail-oriented personality. Mary's routine started early, almost always with the soft sound of water watering her plants in the small garden. There, among the flowers he cultivated with care, he found moments of peace amidst the silence that filled his life. Despite the serenity of her mornings, there was a melancholy that accompanied her, the result of years of separation from her only daughter, Emily. Mary's divorce, which occurred more than a decade ago, had been a turning point in her life. Although she fought to keep Emily protected from the consequences of the breakup, the relationship between mother and daughter was never the same. The visits diminished over time, until they stopped completely, leaving Mary with only memories and the emptiness of distance. Inside the house, the days passed at a slow pace. Mary filled the hours delicately, weaving in the armchair by the window, or observing her neighbors from afar, as if seeking some connection with the world beyond her walls. In the living room, a shelf held framed photos of happy moments from the past. Among them, there was a special one, Emily as a child, with an innocent smile and bright eyes. Mary often found herself staring at that image, sighing deeply as she remembered the days when the house was full of laughter and shared dreams. Loneliness was a constant presence, but Mary found refuge in her small rituals. Arranging the furniture, rearranging drawers, or preparing afternoon tea were gestures that kept his mind busy and his house alive, even if silent. Deep down, however, she wished that the warmth of coexistence could fill the empty rooms again. With each dawn, Mary nurtured a spark of hope, however distant, that perhaps someday the closed doors of the past could open again. On an ordinary afternoon, Mary decided to go to the market to buy some fruit and groceries. The path was the same as always, but on that occasion, something caught his attention. Next to a parked police car, two police officers were talking animatedly, while a large German shepherd rested next to them. Mary, curious, stopped to listen to part of the dialogue. "It's a shame. He's an excellent dog, but he can no longer continue serving," said one of the police officers. Intrigued, Mary approached with timid steps and asked, "Sorry, may I know what you're talking about?" The younger police officer, with a welcoming smile, explained, "This is Max, a German shepherd who served in the canine unit for many years. He is highly trained but is now retired because of age. We are looking for someone who can adopt him and provide a peaceful home." Mary looked at the dog. Even lying down, his posture was imposing. He had expressive, attentive eyes that conveyed a mixture of discipline and weariness. For a moment, Mary felt that there was something about him that reflected her own story. They had both been useful. They had both done their best, but now they were seen as too old. "What if no one wants to adopt him?" she asked hesitantly. "Well, you'll be sent to a shelter, but honestly, we hope that doesn't happen. Max is incredible. He still has a lot to offer. He just needs someone to see that." The connection was immediate. Mary didn't think much before making her decision. "I'll take him home." The surprised police officers explained the care that Max would require and highlighted that he was an extremely disciplined dog, but that he still needed attention and affection in his new phase of life. Mary, despite being a little insecure, felt that she was doing something important, both for him and for herself. When Max was placed in the backseat of his car, Mary began talking to him almost as if trying to ease the nervousness of the situation. "Well, Max, it looks like we're both starting something new, doesn't it?" The dog, as if understanding her words, looked at her quickly before settling into the seat, silent but attentive. Once home, Mary showed every corner of the house to Max, who inspected everything with curiosity and caution. He followed his basic orders with precision, showing his impeccable training. Still, Mary couldn't help but feel a little intimidated by his size and presence. During the night, while Max slept on a makeshift bed in the living room, Mary watched him for a moment. He wondered if he had made the right choice. Could you take care of such a big and strong animal? But at the same time, a comforting feeling was growing in her heart. For the first time in years, she didn't feel completely alone. In the following days, Max began to transform Mary's routine. Her mornings, once silent and melancholic, were now filled with the sound of the German shepherd's paws throughout the house and garden. He seemed interested in every detail, from the antique furniture to the flower garden. Mary began to talk to him like someone talking to a friend, sharing stories and reflections that she had long kept to herself. Max, in turn, demonstrated impressive loyalty and intelligence. In just a few days, He not only adapted to his new home but brought new energy into Mary's life. Little by little, she began to smile more, feeling that, with Max by her side, her home and her life were finally gaining movement and purpose again. The first days with Max were one of adaptation and joy, but as the weeks went by, Mary began to notice something different in the German Shepherd's behavior. Max, who initially seemed relaxed and comfortable in his new home, began to patrol the rooms in a methodical manner, as if he were on duty again. He walked slowly, with his ears alert and his gaze fixed, especially towards the windows and doors. At night, Max was even more vigilant. Mary, who had gotten used to seeing him resting in his favorite corner, now watched him standing near the back door, looking at the dark garden with a rigid posture. Sometimes he made a low growl, almost imperceptible, but it made her shudder. "What is it, Max? It's okay, isn't it?" she asked, trying to reassure herself while stroking the big dog. Max, however, did not respond to the gestures of comfort. He remained motionless, his eyes fixed as if he were monitoring something only he could perceive. Mary began to feel a growing uneasiness. During the day, he maintained the same pattern. He patrolled the house with determination, stood in front of the windows for long minutes, and sniffed the front door repeatedly. Although Mary couldn't see anything unusual, she began to take precautions. He made sure to reinforce the locks on all the doors and windows, and even put an extra lock on the back door. Even so, a feeling of discomfort persisted. At night, the silence in the house seemed even deeper, interrupted only by Max's firm steps down the hall or by a sudden bark that made her wake up with a start. On one of those nights, Mary got up from bed when she heard Max growl again. Grabbing a flashlight, she decided to check the garden. Despite not finding anything, Max's attentive gaze, which followed her closely, indicated that he was noticing something that she could not see. "Max, it's okay. It must be just your imagination, or maybe a cat passing by," he said, trying to hide his concern. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. Max, with his alert posture and determination, seemed to be sending a clear message. There was danger, and he was ready to protect it. That night, as Mary tried to go back to sleep, she heard Max moving around the house. Despite her fear, she found comfort in the suit that she was not alone. As much as the silence in the house made her apprehensive, Max's firm presence was like a shield that made her feel safe. Without knowing exactly what was coming, Mary trusted Max and his ability to protect the home. Jack and Mike were two experienced thieves, known for choosing easy targets, apparently unprotected houses, whose residents had no way to defend themselves. As he looked around the neighborhood, Mary's house caught his attention. Small, discreet, and inhabited only by an elderly woman, it seemed perfect for the next scam. "This is the right house, Jack. An old woman alone with no one to help." "It'll be a breeze," said Mike, pointing to the location while adjusting the details of the plan. Jack, more confident, agreed. He had already studied Mary's movements for days, observing her simple and methodical routine. The only point that caught their attention was Max. Although they considered the German Shepherd imposing, Jack laughed when he remembered what he had heard about the dog. "This dog is retired, Mike. He's too old to be a threat. It's just an ornament." Mike hesitated for a moment, remembering Max's firm posture and watchful expression the day he saw him in the garden. But not wanting to show weakness, he decided to trust his partner. As the thieves fine-tuned the details of the robbery, Max seemed to sense something was wrong. He intensified his vigilance, walking through the rooms of the house like a guard on alert. Every movement abroad caught his attention. All it took was a rustling leaf or a distant sound for him to stop, growl low, and position his ears to catch any sign of danger. Mary noticed that Max's behavior was even more intense in the last few days. He refused to rest in the usual corner of the room, preferring to stay near the doors and windows, with his eyes focused on the garden or the street. "Max, what do you see so much out there?" Mary asked uneasily as she closed the window curtains. The German Shepherd didn't look away, as if he was ready to act at any moment. Mary began to feel a heaviness in the air, as if something was approaching. Despite not understanding what was happening, she completely trusted Max's instincts and began to follow his footsteps more carefully, locking the house more often and avoiding going out at night. On the other side, Jack and Mike finished planning the attack. They chose Friday night to break into the house, confident that Mary would be fast asleep. Using simple tools to pry open the back door, they planned to sneak in quietly, grab what they could, and leave before anyone noticed. "Let's be quick. We take what we can and disappear. And if the dog shows up, we'll find a way," said Jack, laughing. What they didn't know was that Max, even retired, was still a trained guardian, ready to protect Mary at any cost. While the thieves prepared for what they considered an easy job, Max remained vigilant, every muscle tense, as if he knew the time to act was near. The night of the invasion was approaching, and Mary, unaware of what was to come, felt that Max's behavior was a warning. She tightened the locks one last time before lying down, while Max stood guard, his eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the curtains. The morning was silent, and Mary had finally managed to fall asleep after a night of restlessness. Max, on the other hand, remained on alert. His eyes were fixed on the back door, and his ears picked up even the smallest sounds coming from outside. It was then that he heard it. A faint noise of metal being manipulated, followed by stealthy footsteps. Outside, Jack and Mike worked to unlock the door. With simple tools, they believed it would be a quick job. After a few minutes of effort, the lock gave way with a soft click. They slowly opened the door and entered, confident in the darkness that enveloped them. However, before they could take a few more steps, Max was already in action. He moved silently down the hallway to the kitchen entrance, where the thieves were beginning to search drawers and cabinets. Jack was the first to notice the German Shepherd's glowing eyes in the darkness. "The dog!" he exclaimed, trying to back away. Max didn't wait for anything else. With surprising speed, he jumped at Jack, knocking him to the ground with a powerful impact. His teeth closed tightly on the thief's arm, immobilizing him. Jack screamed in pain, trying to free himself, but Max's impeccable training kept him trapped. Mike, terrified, grabbed the nearest object, a piece of wood, and tried to push Max away. However, the German Shepherd, with an agile reflex, dodged the blow and released Jack just enough to turn towards the second intruder. "Get out of here, you monster!" Mike shouted, trying to run towards the back door. Max, however, was faster. With a precise jump, he knocked Mike down before he could escape. The thief fell to the ground with a loud thud as Max kept him under control, growling deeply. Mary, awakened by screams and barks, got up hurriedly, her heart racing. He grabbed his cell phone and ran down the hall, stopping when he saw the scene unfolding in the kitchen. His eyes widened when he found Max, in a defensive stance, keeping both men on the ground. "My God, Max!" she exclaimed, still in disbelief. While the thief who tried to resist struggled, Max remained firm, without hesitation. Mary, shaking, dialed the police with shaking hands. "My house was invaded. My dog. He stopped them. Please come quickly," he explained, his voice choked with adrenaline. On the other end of the line, the attendant assured that the vehicle was already on its way. Mary, still scared, watched Max, who neither let go of the intruders nor looked away. He seemed to know that his mission was not yet over. Minutes later, red and blue lights illuminated the street. Police officers quickly entered the house, finding the unusual scene. Max still holding Mike on the floor while Jack groaned with his arm clearly injured. "What the? This is Max from the Canine Unit," said one of the police officers, recognizing the German Shepherd immediately. With a firm command from Mary, Max finally stepped back, allowing the officers to handcuff the criminals. Even so, he remained by Mary's side, watching her every move as if he were still protecting her. "Madam, that dog is a hero." "He prevented the worst," said one of the police officers, impressed. Mary, still trying to process everything that had happened, bent down next to Max, stroking his head. His eyes were filled with tears, but also with gratitude. "Thank you, Max. You saved my life." The German Shepherd, visibly tired, leaned against Mary, as if he understood the weight of her words. That night, Max proved that, despite being retired, his loyalty and courage remained unshakable. To Mary, he wasn't just a dog. He was her protector and companion, and above all, a true hero. The incident quickly spread throughout the neighborhood and, within days, made headlines in local newspapers. "Retired police dog saves elderly woman during attempted robbery" was the headline on news covers and websites. Print newspapers, radio stations, and even morning TV programs dedicated segments to tell the story of Max, the German Shepherd who had faced two criminals to protect his owner, Mary. Social media was also buzzing with the news. Photos of Max next to Mary, still with an alert expression even after the confrontation, went viral. Thousands of people shared the story, commenting on the dog's loyalty and courage. Many called him the four-legged hero, while others expressed admiration for Mary, who gave Max a new chance at life and was now reaping the rewards of her decision. For Mary, the sudden attention was somewhat surreal. She never imagined that her story with Max would attract so much attention. Despite being shy in front of the cameras, She made a point of emphasizing in interviews how much that German Shepherd changed her life. "He's not just my protector, he's my family. Max gave me a new reason to live, and I will never be able to repay everything he did for me," said Mary in an emotional interview, which brought tears to many viewers. However, while the world celebrated Max as a hero, Mary worried about her faithful companion's well-being. During the confrontation, Max suffered a small injury to his side, a cut that needed to be treated by the veterinarian. Mary stayed by his side throughout the treatment, holding his head while he received the necessary care. "You are strong, my friend. I will take care of you, like you took care of me," she whispered, stroking his fur gently. The following days were of recovery for Max and reflection for Mary. She made a point of spoiling him with special meals, long moments of rest and extra cuddles. He, in turn, continued his vigilant posture, although he accepted his owner's care with a patience that seemed to demonstrate his trust in her. In addition to the messages of support Mary received from strangers, several people from the neighborhood began visiting her to meet Max. The dog, who previously was just another anonymous dog, was now treated like a local celebrity. Mary was moved to see the affection that everyone had for him. "He gives us hope," commented a neighbor as she observed Max lying next to Mary. "It's incredible to see how he protected you, even after everything you've experienced." Max and Mary's story also caught the attention of animal rescue and adoption groups, who used the case as an example of how older dogs, even retired ones, still have a lot to offer. As time passed, Mary began to realize that the impact of the incident went beyond physical protection. Max not only saved her life during that terrible night, but he also brought out a side of her own strength that she didn't know she still had. He revived Mary's courage and desire to move forward, showing that it is never too late to start over. As Max fully regained his energy, Mary looked at him with renewed admiration. Every day with him was a reminder that second chances exist, not just for dogs, but for people too. And thanks to Max, Mary felt like her life was finally filled with purpose, love, and gratitude. Emily was finishing another tiring day at work when turning on the television during dinner, she was surprised by a report that caught her attention. The words, "Hero dog saves elderly woman from attempted robbery," appeared on the screen, accompanied by images of an imposing German Shepherd and a lady that Emily immediately recognized, her mother, Mary. She dropped her fork on the table, her heart racing. The reporter narrated the details of what happened, describing how Max, the former police dog, had faced two thieves to protect Mary. Emily watched in silence, feeling a lump in her throat as she saw the house where she grew up, now the scene of a heroic act. As the reporter spoke, an interview with Mary was shown. His mother, visibly moved, thanked Max and talked about how he had transformed her life. "He is not only my protector, he is my companion. Max brought me joy and security, things I thought I would never have again," said Mary with tears in her eyes. Emily felt a whirlwind of emotions. Guilt, regret, longing. Years ago, she had distanced herself from Mary after her parents' divorce, harboring resentment and hurt that now seemed so small in light of what she had just witnessed. Her mother had been in danger, alone, and the thought that something worse could have happened made her heart sink even more. Without thinking twice, Emily picked up the phone and dialed Mary's number. The sound of ringing seemed like an eternity until, finally, his mother answered. "Hello?" Mary replied, her voice hesitant. "Mom, it's me, Emily," he said, his voice breaking. On the other end of the line, Mary was silent for a few seconds, surprised. Her heart was beating fast, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Emily, my daughter," he asked, almost whispering. "Yes, Mother, I saw the news. Are you well? I didn't know that happened." The words came out of Emily in a rushed manner, while tears ran down her face. Mary took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of relief and emotion. "I'm fine, darling, thanks to Max. He protected me. But most of all, I missed him so much," Mary replied, letting her own tears fall. "Mom, forgive me, for moving away, for all this time without being by your side. I shouldn't have let our differences separate us like this," Emily said, her voice trembling. Mary, her heart overflowing with emotion, replied softly, "I also made mistakes, my daughter. But what matters now is that you are here." That same night, Emily decided to visit Mary. As he crossed the door of the house, his eyes filled with tears when he saw his mother sitting on the sofa, with Max by her side, watching intently. Emily hesitated for a moment, but Mary stood up and hugged her tightly. "I missed you so much, Emily," said Mary between tears. "Me too, Mom, and I promise that I will never walk away from you again." Max, as if understanding the depth of the moment, remained beside the two, his tail swaying slightly. He had fulfilled a role that went beyond physical protection. He was the link that brought mother and daughter together. In the following days, Emily started to visit Mary frequently. The two began to rebuild their relationship, sharing stories, laughs, and even walks with Max. Each encounter was a step toward healing, leaving past hurts behind and creating new moments to remember. Mary, with a heart full of gratitude, knew that Max not only saved her life on that fateful night, but brought something even more precious, the chance to reconnect with Emily. He was more than a hero. It was the symbol of a new beginning, of hope and love. And now, looking at her daughter and her faithful companion, Mary felt that her life was complete again. With Emily visiting frequently, Mary's house took on a new energy. The silence, which was previously predominant, gave way to the sound of laughter, footsteps, and the clinking of teacups shared between mother and daughter. Max, always attentive and vigilant, seemed to have found even more motivation with Emily's constant presence. The weeks of reunion brought Mary a feeling of completeness, as if what was previously incomplete was finally coming together. The idea of adopting another dog came naturally, as a reflection of the renewal that filled Mary's life. Max, although still agile and dedicated, showed signs that age was starting to take its toll. There were times when he preferred long rests after walks, and Mary, observing his tireless loyalty, decided he deserved a companion. It was during a visit to a local shelter that Buddy appeared in their lives. A young mutt with light brown fur, full of energy and curiosity, captured Mary and Emily's attention. The dog's eyes seemed to radiate joy and hope, something Mary recognized immediately. Upon taking him home, the bond between Buddy and Max quickly formed. Buddy brought a new dynamic to the home. His youthful energy contrasted with Max's experienced serenity, but together the two created a perfect balance. Max took on the role of mentor, guiding the young dog through the rules of the house and daily walks around the neighborhood. Buddy, in turn, brought more movement, games, and moments that made Mary and Emily smile. Mary's house, previously marked by the calm of solitude, was now a space of coexistence and joy. The garden, once a silent refuge, was transformed into a stage for the dogs to play, as Mary watered her plants and watched, feeling revitalized. The routine that was previously marked by long periods of introspection gave way to afternoons full of activities. Walks with the dogs, conversations shared with Emily, and moments of positive reflection on how her life had changed. Living with the two dogs further strengthened the bond between Mary and Emily. Every gesture, every small action, like sharing the task of feeding Max and Buddy or organizing their space in the house, made the relationship between mother and daughter closer. The house, now full of life, represented the fresh start that Mary always wanted but never imagined possible. Mary felt like her life had found a renewed purpose. Max and Buddy together were more than companions. They were symbols of love, loyalty, and second chances. Emily, by their side, was proof that family ties can be restored, even after long periods of distance. Over time, Mary realized that not only had her home changed, but so had she. The presence of the dogs and Emily's return taught her to look ahead, to embrace the present, and to value the small joys that make up a full life. Max and Buddy, playing under the sun in the garden, were the living manifestation that, even in the most difficult times, there is always room for a new beginning. While walking through the park on a sunny afternoon, Mary felt the gentle wind touch her face, bringing with it a feeling of peace that she hadn't experienced in a long time. Beside him, Emily walked calmly, her steps aligned in a familiar rhythm. Max, with his serene and vigilant posture, walked a little ahead, while Buddy, with the energy of his youth, ran in circles around them. Mary watched the scene with a heart full of gratitude. He thought about everything that had happened in the last few months, about the unexpected changes that had transformed his life. Max, a companion she adopted without knowing the impact it would have, not only saved her life in a moment of danger, but brought something even deeper: reconnection with Emily. The years away, once filled with hurt and silence, now seemed like just a distant chapter in their story. Emily's presence in her life not only healed old wounds, but also brought back the joy that Mary thought she had lost forever. Max was the link that brought mother and daughter together again, and Buddy, with his contagious energy, brought the certainty that there is always room for new beginnings. Mary stopped for a moment to observe the park around her. Children were playing, people were walking their dogs, and the gentle sound of nature created a perfect soundtrack for that moment. She smiled, not just at what she saw, but at what she felt. Life, even with its challenges, had a way of surprising, of offering new chances when least expected. As Max looked at her with his watchful eyes and Buddy ran to her feet, Mary reflected on how second chances can come in unexpected ways. Whether in the form of a retired dog who brought protection and love, or the reunion with his daughter, life had shown him that it is never too late to start over. Emily, noticing her mother's serene look, smiled. The walk continued, now with laughter and shared stories. For Mary, every step in that park was a symbol of how life, despite difficult times, can be renewed. And as the sun set over the horizon, she knew with a calm certainty that her story was not about loss, but about new beginnings. And so ends this moving story, showing that second chances can transform lives in surprising ways. If you also believe that it's never too late to start over and that love and courage can change everything, leave your comment below. We want to know what you thought of this incredible journey. Don't forget to like the video to support our work and share this inspiring message with more people. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, take the opportunity now to subscribe and activate the bell. This way you don't miss any of our upcoming stories and content that touch the heart. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.